Oh, my name's Bruce. My name is Bruce. And this is my channel. This is my classroom in the forest. And if you've already subscribed, thank you very much for that. And if you have not subscribed, please just take a second and subscribe. Just take a minute and do the subscribe. And thank you very much for that. What the heck? You know what? I enjoy seeing that a few people have subscribed. Thank you. Anyway, this is my little affair here. This is my classroom in the forest. And goodness gracious, I'm going to say, it is quite a cold day. It is quite a cold day. There was a precipitous drop in temperature, maybe by 20 degrees or more over the last 24 hours, and winter's kind of returned. That's not to say that climate change is in any way not real. So now, if you've been following along, you'll know that I get out my I got my chalkboard. And I've got my chalk. I have some chalk here. And if you've been following along, you'll know that I like to make videos. I'm trying to communicate some ideas of economics and public policy, specifically as they relate to humans, the world. And I've talked about what your job is as a human, which is to have fun, to enjoy your life, to maximize, squeeze every ounce of juice you possibly can out of your living, because what the heck, you know? And that means a lot of things. That means when you look around you and you have children, you want to see happy children, and you want to see a comfortable house, and you want to see comfortable dwelling, and you want to see general comfort. And one aspect of human comfort and happiness is the comfort and happiness that we get from seeing that really other people are comfortable and happy. That's good. So anyway, that's your job as a human. Then I talked about the job of in society. There's another entity. It's called the firm, or businesses in our economy. And that is, what's the job of a business is to make as much money as they possibly can. Profit, profit, profit. It's not a bad word. It's not a bad thing. That's the job of the business, to maximize profit. All right. And then we get to the little matter of government. And the role, the job of government is to maximize the well-being of everyone. Everyone. To maximize the well-being of every person that exists within their jurisdiction, their economy. That's the government's job. And as long as everybody's doing their job, things tend to go along pretty well. Now, there's examples from the world where perhaps the government is not really a democratically elected government. It might be a dictatorship, and the dictator wakes up in the morning and decides that what they really want to do is be happy, and for the rest of you guys, you can go pound sand because I'm just worried about me. I'm going to pretend to be worried about you, but really, I'm worried about me. That's the dictator. Unfortunately, that's a reality for a good number of people that live in the world, and goodness, I don't like that. Really, I don't like it. I wish that weren't the case, but it is the case. And and if you look on some of my other videos, I made one about kind of butter and bullets, and talked about you know, how we operate on an assumption that everyone's a rational actor, but sometimes that's just not true. Anyway, now, in this role of government, I keep coming back to this idea that one job of a forward-thinking government is to, it is a reality. It's a construct, but it's a way of describing it. Is in our economy, we have this little curve here. This is all the resources or stuff that we have. If you look around me here, you're going to see resources, forestry resources, air resources, gravity resources, all kinds of resources. And these are the people. And people have skills and knowledge and capability and potential. Potential. Humans. human potential. And then we draw this little curve here, and we say that this area inside here is the set of all the things, goods and services that can be produced in the economy with the things that we have, the things that we know, and then we move forward. And you know what? Sometimes the things that we have might be as simple as 3 sticks and we're going to build a fire, and we manage to find a feral pig and create a barbecue, and we know how to make that, and that's what we have. That's a simple, tactical, immediate thing. Okay. On the other end of this spectrum are things that are more abstract. Okay. Stuff that Einstein was concerned with, relativity. And you think relativity doesn't affect your day-to-day life? Well, it kind of does. It affects the way your communications works and satellites and things that go very, very fast. It affects that very, very fast, like not fast like a car or fast like a plane, but really, really, really fast. Okay, and then Einstein could kind of started with Maxwell's equations and stuff, and there's a whole bunch of science stuff with fancy looking squiggles and things, and they're trying to communicate ideas that really are best expressed through mathematics or patience. And so my point of this is that quite often the things that we know are difficult to communicate, and they require a commitment to education. And the things that we can do in the future are indescribable, that we don't know. Okay? We don't know. We don't know. Cell phones. Holy smoke, when I was a kid, that didn't exist. You remember Maxwell Smart? Anyone that's old enough to remember the show Get Smart? And he'd start off the show and he'd walk through all the doors, and then he'd eventually take off his shoe, and his shoe would be a phone, and he'd call, "Hello, control, this is Agent 86, Max," and then Chief, and then 99, Barbara Feldon, I think was her name, the actress. It was a great show. I enjoyed it. It was funny. And Larrabee in the Cone of Silence. The point that I'm making is that what may appear to you to be academic folly and not having a point, well, the point is that we're expanding human knowledge, and the things that beget from the expansion of human knowledge are difficult to predict. They're difficult to recognize at first blush. And quite often they're very good, and occasionally they're not so good. That happens. And sometimes the things that you think are good wind up being not good, and vice versa. That happens. Okay. Now, all right. Where am I? What's the message here? The message is, now, if you're a fan of art, there's a book. Diane Arbus was a photographer. She's a true artist. Lived in New York City. You can find the Diane Arbus book. And in the preface to the book, she said that if you want something to be really, really general, like apply universally, well, then what you want to do is make it really, really specific. And that makes it relatable. There's other examples in literature. I don't want to. I can talk about that for about 6 weeks, and I don't think you're that interested. Oh, by the way, if you could subscribe, that'd be great. Thank you for subscribing. I'm astonished that anyone watches this. I'm doing my best. I explained that before. But anyway, okay. So we talked about the specific. And one thing I've been kind of avoiding is discussing things in too close a specificity, because I don't want to throw stones, point fingers, call names, castigate, berate, denigrate, any of that stuff. Just no, it's not helpful. And I told before, I said I'm the happiest guy for 100 meters in any direction almost normally. Okay, today. Now, I want to talk about the oil business. I'm going to come back to some other things, but for a second, the oil business in the province of Alberta. Okay, and the oil business has been a real benefit to the province of Alberta. It's brought wealth. Peter Lougheed, who was a premier of the province a long time ago, he said, "We have an embarrassment of riches." And in the context of that moment, which was in the 1960s, perhaps that was true. Okay, so the oil business. Now, a question that you might come into your head is, well, oil. Well, how many oil wells do they drill in Alberta? Really? Well, this is publicly available information. There's a thing called the EUB, the Energy and Utilities Board. You can look it up, and they keep track of what are called wells spud. Spud is the oil field term for you're going to start to drill a new well. They keep track of what's called rig moves, how many times you move the oil rig or the service rig or the drilling rig from this position to that position. They keep track of that. They keep track of wells that are called DNA, dried and abandoned. They keep track of wells that are called, producing wells, injecting wells, gas wells, sour gas wells. That sour gas well is a well that has a high proportion of hydrogen sulfide gas. Hydrogen sulfide gas is super duper poisonous. Okay, it's all publicly available information. But the question was, how many wells are drilled in Alberta? And the answer is at one time, and it's basically like this now, but the number is, I'm going over here because I want to go over there. I don't know if this is going to be helpful. The answer is this number. 30,000. 30,000 wells drilled in Alberta. And you might think, 30,000 wells, that's an awful lot of wells. You mean they drilled 30,000 wells in Alberta? Well, I'm going to say this. 30,000 wells a year. It's actually more than that, but it's right around there. 30,000 wells a year is publicly available information from the Alberta EUB, the Energy Utilities Board. Okay. And that's been going on for a while. Well, how long has that been going on for? Well, since about 1965. Okay, so 30,000 times 50 years is like 1.5 million. 1.5 million, which hopefully someone will come in the comments and have a lot of precise information. And if you've been following the videos, you'll know that it's not that I like to play fast and loose with the numbers, but for the point of a conversation, close enough is good enough. Okay? There you go. Close enough is good enough. So it's this kind of number. And then there's a factoid. Another factoid is, let's talk about what exactly is a well. Like, how does that happen anyway? Well, it begins with a thing called geology. And if you ever get a chance to speak with an older geologist, they're going to give you kind of like the geological history of the Earth. Okay, where the continents are now, where the continents used to be, where the continents are moving, where the oceans are now, where all this stuff. And that information is important because, to quote a cousin of mine, you're trying to figure out where the beach used to be. And the reason for that is because you want to know where the hydrocarbon is, where the oil is, where the gas is. And hydrocarbon, oil, and gases comes from the decay of organic material, plants, animals, they're over hundreds of millions of years. All right, then you want to find this, and the geology guys, the older, more senior geology guys, are going to paint like kind of a general abstract picture. They're going to hand that off to some junior geology people who are going to focus in on specifics and say, well, maybe here, maybe here, well, look here. And then that's going to get handed off to companies that do, it's called the geophysical surveying, and they're going to use various echolocation, like thumping and setting off explosions, really, setting off explosions on the Earth and measuring the return of the echo. And then all that data is going to be passed into some computers that are going to perform some, remember what I talked about how you never know when this science stuff is going to help you out? They're going to be passed into computers that are going to perform what are called Fourier transforms on the information to convert it into a domain that you can make sense of. And the computers do FFTs, called fast Fourier transforms. And it's pretty fancy. There. finding the oil. Then that gets passed off to geophysicists, who kind of paints a picture, but with computers, and they have fancy graphical representations these days of where you believe this stuff to be. And you're looking for certain kinds of rock, because the rock is going to contain the hydrocarbon that you're interested in. And the hydrocarbon that you're interested in, whatever that could be, oil, gas, oil or gas, or combined both. This can get pretty detailed, and maybe you're bored already, I don't know. But the kind of rock you're looking for must have pores, and the rock has to have holes. If the rock is too solid, then it can't get, this is a representation of a piece of rock. So if the rock's all solid, then there's nowhere for the hydrocarbon to fit. So the rock is going to have holes, pores, okay? And the pores, let's pretend we're talking about something that's 3,000 meters below the surface of the earth. And these pores, they're going to contain, hopefully, the material that you're interested in. And then that's not enough, because the material has to be able to flow. Then you're looking for, this is porosity. And the other thing is a fancy word, it's permeability. It's the capacity of the rock to allow things to flow, the interconnectedness of it. Porosity and permeability. And then if you really want to get into this a little bit, there's a thing called the Darcy equation, which is basically it's an admission that the Earth can be described as a set of differential equations that'll tell you how things move about in the Earth. And that gets a little bit mathy, but not too much. It's actually not. I mean, it's oil. We're hunting for oil. It's not rocket science, but you can make it as complicated as you want. And then some people might make a joke that rather than going through this big song and dance, you should just throw darts at a map and you're going to get about the same results. There. Okay. So you have this whole effort. But remember, there were explosions on the land, thumpers, people looking, okay? Then eventually you're going to get set to drilling. Okay, so over here, this will be a drill site. Typically, this might be 100 meters in difficult terrain. They always wind up being in a hard place to get to. And then over here, say, this is the road, the highway, and always, for some reason, it winds up being that this is going to be some distance, like let's just say 100 kilometers from the road, and then there's going to be mountains and big hills in the middle. So then you want to get your drilling rig over to there. So the first thing you're going to need is a road. So what you're going to do is you're going to hire these guys, and they're going to build a special road. The road is only really good enough to get this massive of equipment over there. It might be a number like 60 semi-trailers worth of stuff, and they're going over this very scary road that's like, I assure you would not want to drive on this thing with this heavy equipment. And sometimes you accompany the heavy equipment moves with bulldozers. And you might send 6 bulldozers as part of your convoy, so that when the truck is traveling, this is the side of the hill, and this is this crazy road, this is the truck, and there's a possibility that the truck will fall over like this, so you have some bulldozers and winches attached and pulling this in. It's a great amount of effort to get over to here. Okay. And then, remember, this road's 100 kilometers, might be. And there's not just one, but remember this other number over here, 30,000 a year. Now, they're not all in the middle of, wherever. Because if you start looking at Alberta, you look at, say, an area like the Drayton Valley, it's basically a pincushion. There's holes and holes and holes and holes and holes, and there's grid lines, and there's maps of showing you where the producing wells, the injector wells, the pumping wells, the flowing wells, all kinds of different wells. Okay, I'm trying to paint a picture here. Now, so you have all this effort, right? And remember, 30,000 this a year. then you have this going on, the roads, that, and then lo and behold, now you might need a, this thing might be producing some material. Now you're going to need a gathering system. So the gathering system is going to start with a bunch of stuff at the surface. The material coming out might be laden with water. You're going to have a thing called the free water knockout. You're going to dehydrate the material that comes out of there. It might have a sour gas that you're going to have to deal with. It might have a lot of stuff. So there's going to be a bunch of equipment here. Then there's going to be a pipe that goes over there to connect up with another pipe. And that pipe's going to connect up with another pipe. You get it? A pipe and a pipe and a pipe. And all these pipes, they don't just magically appear. These pipes have to be placed, laid in the ground. Works in the hills and laid in the ground. Pipes, pipelines. Okay, so we had the road building, we had the well drilling, we had the site preparation, we had the equipment installation, we have the pipelining. And if you follow my earlier videos, I talked about how expensive holes in the ground are. And this is all hole, digging a hole. Okay. Now, if you go, actually, during the well digging, well drilling process, there's and it might, some of these wells might take like a year to drill, right around. I mean, that'd be extreme, but that's real. So anyway, so on the well site, you're going to have the person that's in charge. They're called the tool push. That's the site supervisor of the deal. You're going to have a thing called the doghouse, which is like basically usually a steel shed where the workers can go and kind of warm up, because you always wind up drilling these things in the most unpleasant weather, and there's lots of mud and everybody's cold and wet and all this. So the place to go warm up. Then there's going to be a kind of a site office. He'll drop a trailer there. If you ever drive around, you see a thing called Atco. Atco stands for the Alberta Trailer Company. Started by a guy named Ron Southern, and I was at his daughter's wedding, Nancy. Anyway, notwithstanding that, so you get it. You have all this, and then this thing. They'll have satellite television and internet and all this stuff. And there might be more than one of these, almost for sure. And then there might be a camp. You set up a camp for the workers to live, and all this stuff. And the point I'm making is that the impact to a casual observer on the earth of the oil industry is massive. And when you get up close to it, it's massive. And when you pull back to see it from far away, it is massive. And if you ever have, as I have on many occasions, flown in a plane over the province of Alberta, flying fairly low, and say like an Otter plane, I've flown in those, you look out the window, you're going to see what look like a whole bunch of stadiums. They're about the size of a big city stadium, like the Saddle Dome or the Air Canada Centre or the Omni and wherever, or the King Dome or the place in Los Angeles. They're big and they're yellow. You see it from the air, and you're looking down and you're seeing all these yellow things look like stadiums. What those yellow things are is sulfur that has been removed from the hydrogen sulfide laden gas before it is shipped further on for processing and sale. Okay, so this is real. This is what happens without even, like, this description doesn't include anything ever having gone wrong, which is just naive as you want to have. So anyway, now Alberta, I talked about the role of politicians, maximizing the well-being of everyone and balancing interests. So the current Alberta Premier has decided that renewable energy doesn't look good. Renewable energy doesn't look good, and that there should be a protection so that we can keep it looking good. Keep Alberta pretty. And to that effect, there's been consultations, and now we have regulations. And remember, it's Canada. So in Canada, it's the provincial government has control over transportation, energy, mineral resources, education, and healthcare, full stop. And if you happen to be the premier of a province with a majority government, you can do more or less whatever you want. So this premier has decided that wind turbines are not beautiful, has decided that solar energy is not pretty, and has erected a kind of a, like, what's the guy's name? Moses? There was a planner in the state of New York who kind of did a lot of passive aggressive stuff to thwart people from going to the beach. You can look that up. But anyway, this is a big deal. So to say a 35-kilometer buffer zone between beauty and wind turbine, or between beauty and solar. Wow. Wow. Okay. Wow. And you know what? Am I making my point here? That you have, and all this stuff that's not only is it not necessarily pretty, you kind of get used to it. There's a word called Anor. Anor means to grow accustomed to something unpleasant. I've had that in my life. It's toughened me up. Well, in a way, I've had unpleasant things, and you just kind of get used to it after a while and deal and move on. But if you happen to live in an area that you're born into a place that is a petroleum producing region or a coal mining area, don't get me going on Alberta coal mines. Well, I'm going to talk about that a bit later. But you get used to seeing this stuff, and then if you see something new, then you're not happy. Or if the new thing is coming from the people that are not necessarily contributing to your political ambition, then you're not happy. And in this case, goodness gracious. So there. And then I talked some other videos. I talked about the relative cost between energy creation vis-a-vis nuclear power or solar or wind or hydroelectric or thermal generation. Thermal meaning like you can burn fossil gas, you can burn oil, you can burn wood, you can burn, if you can burn it, you can make electricity from it. That simple. Is that a good idea? Absolutely, full stop, no. It's absolutely not a good idea. So anyway, so there's that. There's that. And I want to draw someone's attention to this. And if you happen to be an Alberta person that's collecting royalties, money for having an oil, that's a whole other topic, I'll tell you. But anyway, my name's Bruce. This is my channel. If for some reason you enjoy this, or if you decide you don't like me, or you decide anything, please subscribe. I enjoy it when people subscribe to my videos. Thank you very much. Bye.